first time I was faced with a neonate kitten was many, many years ago. It came in, it was probably only a couple of days old, eyes closed, fat little kitty, and I looked at him and I immediately felt very sad to see that he was separated from his mom because there was no mom in sight. And my second impulse was to take him home and care for him.
This year, through the 1st of November, we've taken in 5,700-ish kittens for the year since January 1st. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone down significantly, but we have high hopes for the future, and we're hoping with more community involvement in managing the cat populations within their neighborhoods, would really help us gain some ground on the orphaned kitten population.
I think what would happen if the shelters did not exist is that the animal population would explode, especially feral cats. It's really hard to say how many feral cats are in the community because you don't always see them. They sometimes only come out at night. They hide when we're around. So it's really hard to tell. We know by the numbers that we do see here at the shelter and in other shelters in the county that we probably have thousands of cats out there in the feral community.
The feral cat community is a bit perhaps out of control. I mean, each of our shelters in Santa Clara County are still experiencing high intakes of orphaned kittens every year. So that's due in part to an altered feral cat or stray cat community that's breeding in our cities, and so in turn the kittens are brought to the shelter when they're orphaned or for some reason need some help.
Feral cats pretty much stay to themselves. I think the bigger problem is the people who move away and leave their cats to fend for themselves. Those cats 9 times out of 10 aren't neutered, spayed, whatever. They go out, they get pregnant, but they're friendly because they know people, but they don't introduce their kittens. So now you're starting a whole new feral colony of the kittens that are afraid.
Controlling the feral cat population is important because obviously there aren't enough homes for as many cats as there are out in the feral community. So it's very, very important that we try to curtail those populations so that there aren't so many unwanted animals coming into shelters. A feral cat and her mate over the course of a year can have 2 to 3 litters. If 2 to 3 of those kittens survive out of each litter, in 2 years you would have 67 cats. In 3 years you would have 376. In 8 years you would have over 2 million cats from that one intact pair of feral cats. This is what makes it so very important to do trapping, neutering, releasing, as we call trap, neuter, release programs. Bravery.
And for people in Mazzone.
Members of the community trap the animals, the kittens, the cats and kittens. They bring them to the shelter. The shelter alters them, they spay or neuter them, and then they're released by one of our partner groups back to their original colony.
Then she gets put on the warming pad down below. until they wake up.
So it's not about placing cats in areas that they don't belong in. I mean, these cats are literally going back to their homes and where they originated from. So that is vital to the success of the program, and that's vital to the animals being able to continue to thrive where they come from. And these cats have a home. I mean, they really do. They might be outdoor pets. And if we can offer spay and neuter and limit them from breeding and creating more kittens, we can hopefully get ahead of it and really have a well-managed population of stray cats that are thriving and doing well. Early on, and this has been nationwide, shelters would receive neonate kittens and simply did not have the resources to care for them or save their lives. I mean, that was back when, feral adult cats and, animals were being euthanized for space and time. But now there's a movement, nationwide to start saving lives. And so shelters are now starting to design programs and kitten nurseries to save these animals. None of our shelters are funded enough to do the work that we're doing. So it's really, really important that we have the community's involvement to help us save these animals that are members of our community as well.
Our foster parents, when they're taking in neonates, which means they are not eating on their own, they still require being fed every couple of hours through the day and night. So that's a very strong commitment to take on when you're caring for neonates. They require a lot of care, and they require a longer term of care than an older kitten that's self-feeding.
My name is Kitten DeMartini, and I'm a foster mom for Silicon Valley Animal Control. I've been doing it since 2007. When I consider bottle babies, ones that, they can't eat off a plate, they come to you so young that they have to have a special kitten formula, which it has to be made, warmed up to them, and then presented in the bottle to the kittens. After you feed them, you have to stimulate them to help them to go potty because they don't know how to do that. That's something mama cat usually does. And basically it's just keep them warm and fed and clean. What's a good thing is when you get them in their, ounces and you get to see them thrive and get bigger and eventually go out for adoption. It's the ones that don't make it that really play with your heart, and that happens. But you, as a foster parent, you have to accept it, that they're not all going to make it because they were left in a field by a domestic that was left by its people, or that was too young, didn't know how to take care of them, or got scared away from the nest.
You can get. Come on, over here. My name is Linda Mazzone. I'm retired now. I started fostering before I retired. So I've been fostering since 1996, a long time. Most of my experience has been with what's considered transition kittens. So they're kind of getting off a bottle and getting onto the mushy wet food. They're a lot messier at that time because they're missing the litter box and that sort of thing and stepping in their food and that. And but I kind of like them at that age. They're very malleable, it's easy to influence them to become more friendly. And foster the little tiny babies are a little bit harder. They require more work because you have to be up in the middle of the night to feed them and all. You just need to dedicate a space for them and some time for them, and it takes as much time as you want to put into it. But it's fun, it's relaxing, and it's really, really rewarding.
I think that the numbers of cats that we all receive, and when I say all, I mean the various shelters in the county of Santa Clara, I think that we have seen a decrease over the years. Certainly from 20 years ago, we've seen a huge decrease in the numbers of feral kittens that we see every year.
It's amazing work. It's never ending. It's hard work. It's heartbreaking at times, but it's also life-changing. And we're fortunate to have so many caring people in our community.